The other thing that the Pat McAfee show dropped was Mike Tomlin. They said that it kind of feels like, and maybe I should pull up the exact quote, but it kind of feels like right now this could be the beginning of the end for Mike Tomlin. I'm pulling it up here. There's a chance. Feels like there's a chance. Quote, it feels like this year, the reactions from the people that are normally on Tomlin's side, because there's always been detractors in Pittsburgh. Big word to be just tossing out there in the middle of a show. The people that are normally on his side seems like they're getting a little bit quiet. Could you imagine Art Rooney decides, all right, it's time to move on from Mike Tomlin. It feels like there's a chance for that this year, and I've never felt like that. It's getting hard. I think that's the point that I'm trying to make. All the people that have defended Tomlin, and I think we're part of that group, it's getting to the point where it's like, hey, you're the only human not seeing what everybody else is seeing here. You're the only one. And when it becomes that, and we appreciate him dying on his shield and everything like that, there might be some changes at the end of the year. So for starters, Pat McAfee, spot on with the Mike Tomlin dying on the shield and being the only person. I wouldn't say the only person because the players see it too, but the being so blinded from what everybody else in the whole world seemingly sees of what's wrong with the Pittsburgh Steelers, or where the big problem is with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I already know your answer to this, but do you think that there's any point to that? Do you think that, and how absurd is it to think, well, maybe Tomlin's done?
Well, I think I think he might have a little bit of something with this could be the beginning of the end, because
Okay.
like I said, I don't think, like you said, I don't think Tomlin's going to get fired. I don't think he deserves to. I don't think that's the right move at this point. But I think at a certain point, somewhere down the line, if the results kind of continue to play out the same way, if they continue on kind of the same track, there is a point where you say, look, thank you for everything you've done. You had a great track record here, but we just need to go in a fresh direction.
Yep.
And I think that would be a reasonable, like I said, a reasonable thing to say if this all kind of continues in the same direction. I mean, I think even if like you get another 2 years of like 9-8 or something, like at a certain point, you are aiming a little bit higher and doing more with less, kind of the stuff that Mike Tomlin has a good reputation for. That's just not going to cut it for this team in this moment when they think they have a Super Bowl caliber roster, you know?
Yep.
We're a long way from that. That's not like, I wouldn't even put that on anyone's radar right now. But, you know, like I said, if the results kind of continue to trend in the same direction, I don't think it's completely unreasonable to say, okay, well, Mike Tomlin's not a bad coach, but the Steelers might just need something different right now.
Yeah. I think that if the Pittsburgh Steelers played more than 2 rookie head coaches this season, which that's all they played, DeMeco Ryans and whoever's in Indy. I don't know who's in Indy, but I know it's somebody new.
Steichen, he's from the Eagles.
Yes, Steichen. There you go. If they played, and he might not even be a rookie anymore. This might be his second year. I don't know. If they played more DeMeco Ryans, if they played more of these very young, new, brand new head coaches, I think that, and they put on the performances that they had against the Houston Texans, which like is almost like expected. I think that conversation has like an actual
has some legs.
Point to it. Yeah, it's moving a little bit. You know, the ball is rolling. But the fact that you're going to go up against all these old head coaches, and you can't have that conversation week after, like you could have it after Houston. After Houston, that conversation needed to be had of, well, DeMeco Ryans is a brand new coach. He's 3 games into his NFL career, and he just smoked Mike Tomlin in every facet of a game. His team was 100 times more prepared, and his players and his game plan was 100 times better than the Pittsburgh Steelers. If that happens in Indy, you have a whole other conversation again. Okay, well, this just happened again. If there were more of those, I could see that conversation having some traction. And you saying, okay, well, like all these fresh young coaches are out coaching Mike Tomlin. But the fact that there's only 2 of them, there's just not enough steam to generate. You know what I'm saying? And look, Mike Tomlin is definitely a huge contributing factor to the fact that Matt Canada is not getting fired. But Art Rooney is just as big and just as much of a part of that as anybody else. And if he's not even considering a change at offensive coordinator, what makes us think that at any moment he would consider a change at head coach? Like, it would never happen. It would just never happen. Now, the beginning of the end can mean a couple of things, and I think that you're right with that. Like, this could be the beginning of the end of the dominant Tomlin era, where it just slowly sinks more and more into, well, the team is struggling more and more. The outcomes are lesser and lesser. Maybe that starts to happen. But I think it's nearly impossible that the Steelers ever get rid of Mike Tomlin. I just don't think that's a thing. Winning another Super Bowl, I think that could be another conversation.
Yeah. And I think it could be a lot like, like Andy Reid with the Eagles. Like,
yes,
like they could move on from Mike Tomlin, and Mike Tomlin could still be a good, capable coach that goes to another team and builds them up into a great spot. And I think that's certainly possible, just as it's possible that everyone might need to move on. This just might be a stale situation. So
yep.
Even if the Steelers do start to think about that, I don't think it's an indictment on his coaching ability. I think it just says something about the situation and where everyone is at right now.
Yeah, I agree. Stale is a really good word. Like, sometimes things just run their course, and it is what it is.